Honesty isn't a buzzword here. It's the ignition switch for growth. We all slip into self-labeling, calling ourselves fat, dumb, or not enough. And that habit locks us into a smaller version of ourselves. In this video, we're cutting through that mirror game. Denying truths about who we are doesn't spark change. It stalls it. Acceptance is the first actionable step. And from there, authenticity becomes the foundation for practical strategies. You'll see a clear path. You can rewrite your limits by leaning into discomfort, documenting what you truly want, and building a daily practice that compounds over time. The aim isn't perfection, but progress through honesty. And that honesty starts with looking in the mirror and naming what you truly feel without judgment. As we unfold this, you'll hear a simple question repeated in your mind. What could I do today if fear didn't decide my actions? That question becomes the doorway to a more resilient you. Honesty with yourself triggers real change, yet many hide behind a shield of masking. Your environment matters. The people around you can gently pull you toward comfort or push you toward challenge. If you're constantly surrounded by praise that never tests you, you drift into complacency. Authenticity, then, isn't just about brutal candor. It's about aligning who you are with what you're willing to prove to yourself through action. That alignment is the seed from which the 40% rule grows. When you're honest about your starting point, you unlock a strategy that doesn't rely on motivation alone, but builds a structure you can live with day after day. The 40% rule isn't magic. It's a framework that begins with a single step beyond your current threshold, because growth begins where comfort ends. In the unusual environments that test you, discomfort isn't a signal to quit, it's a directional cue. When you feel the burn of a tough workout, a late-night study sprint, or a challenging conversation, that friction is data saying you're heading in the right direction. Too much praise can actually stall growth if it avoids real challenge. High-challenge environments accelerate your resilience, forcing your capacity to expand. The goal is not to seek pain for its own sake, but to seek the signals that you're moving past a self-imposed ceiling. When you push into the space where your ego's tense, you discover that your potential is larger than your fear. This is how you train a mind that doesn't blink at friction and develops the stamina to persist when it matters most. Think of the mind as a governor on a car. It's not the external world that limits you. It's an internal safety switch that lowers effort to spare you from suffering. Fear of pain shrinks your output, and that shrinking becomes a habit. The threshold you hear about, the 40% mark, is a reinterpretation of failure. You aren't hitting a hard limit, you're hitting a misframed boundary. When you refuse to shrink in the face of discomfort, you learn to recalibrate, to test the gauge, to push the needle past the initial resistance. The governor metaphor isn't just poetic, it's a practical setup for what comes next. Deliberately pushing beyond 40% by design, with intention and with a plan. You learn to treat failure not as evidence you're weak, but as feedback guiding you to a higher threshold. So what exactly is the 40% rule? It begins with a cognitive ceiling, not a physical one. Most of us are operating at roughly 40% of our true capacity because fear and survival instincts keep the pedals light. From there, you push in small, scalable steps, 40% to 45%, then 50%, and so on. The point isn't to push until you burn out. It's to learn how to translate pain into data. Pain tells you your effort is insufficient for your goal. Discipline tells you how to act on that signal. Build a map of micro-progress, tiny increases that accumulate into real capability. When you view pain as information rather than punishment, you unlock a method. Observe, breathe, act, and repeat. This is how you turn a moment of discomfort into a moment of growth. To reinforce self-control, you treat it as a habit, not an impulse. Self-control is learned through consistent practice, not inspiration. You train your brain to observe urges without acting on them. You widen the window between impulse and action. Micro habits like a brief cold exposure, a short sprint, or a precise breathing pattern. Establish a reliable pattern you can count on when it matters. The trick is to anchor your urges with a tiny, doable action, right after the urge hits. Drink water, reset posture, recite a mantra. Start with a simple 7-day plan that challenges you to test your 40% in a real-world context and track your responses. Small, repeatable wins compound into lasting discipline. As the year winds down, the holidays become a mirror for your readiness. Seasonal cycles can magnify either motivation or distractions. depending on your plan. Quiet moments become powerful prompts for recommitment. Use the holiday lull as a deliberate reset. Plan 2 to 3 concrete 40% pushes for January and test your threshold when ordinary routines resume. A structured reset isn't a punishment. It's a calibration period that shows you how your 40% holds up under change. Embrace the pause as a chance to re-enter the arena with a clearer aim and a sharper plan. The battle with yourself is the lifelong battle for growth. Internal conflict, I'll do it later versus I'll begin now, is normal. What matters is persistence. The stubborn choice to start and to continue even when motivation ebbs. Establish routines that create momentum, a consistent wake time, a dedicated 30-minute block for challenging activity, and accountability that keeps you honest. An early morning rhythm compounds, turning effort into identity day after day. When you add support from others, shared goals, check-ins, and accountability partners, the path becomes steadier and more reliable. Starting from a difficult place isn't a flaw, it's fuel. Grit and consistent effort can outpace natural advantages over time. And perseverance from a sparse starting point is a hallmark of mental toughness. A clear progress timeline, baseline, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, helps you see the route you're carving. Seeing real forward motion compounds belief that you can achieve more than you imagined. Darkness isn't a sign of failure, it's part of the process. Growth often begins in shadow and ends in light. In that darkness, you learn that resilience is forged by choosing to confront hardship, not by avoiding it. Reframe your struggles as catalysts for future strength, and you accelerate your transformation. Now let's anchor this into action. We'll guide you through a practical application, an 8-minute workout that scales from 40% to higher effort with breathing and pacing cues. We'll lay out a 2-week plan to implement these concepts with accountability, plus printable tools, a 40% tracker, daily affirmation, and a failure log with corrective actions. You'll see the moves, hear the rhythm, and feel how small, measured steps create momentum. This is where theory meets real life, and you'll walk away with a tangible way to test yourself and track progress. Recapping our map, honesty is the ignition. The 40% rule is a scalable framework you can apply to any domain, and consistency plus authentic self-acceptance unlock practical strategies that really move the needle. We've walked through discomfort as a signal, the governor you can override, and the power of deliberate practice. You've seen how a harder environment accelerates growth and how quiet momentum, streaks of small wins, builds character. Now you carry the tools, the 2-week plan, the tracker, and the accountability network you create in your comments and collaborations. And in the final beat, we remind you, this isn't a one-time push, but a lifestyle shift. Start now and let every small push become your new baseline for what you can achieve. If you're ready to take this further, here's your invitation to engage. Subscribe, like, and share this message with someone who needs it. Download the toolkit and join the 7-day micro-challenge that nudges you to test your 40% in a fresh arena. Comment your biggest 40% moment and tag a friend who could use this push. When we build this community, we lift each other higher, turning individual effort into collective progress. Your future self is already thanking you for starting today.